ladies and gentlemen, let's imagine the call has gone through to the emergency services. The police are first on the scene. Joining us is Chief Inspector Jan Giorgio from Avon Somerset Police. So, Jan, you get the call. What happens?
Okay, so what's really important now, this is the first unit that's on the scene, Niall and Michelle. So this is about balancing what steps they can take to save life, but also truly assessing what this scene looks like, what the hazards are, access to the scene, exactly what we've got, how many casualties are involved, what further emergency services we need to have at the scene, and just taking that all-round grip to deal with the scene that we've got, but also to prevent any further incidents from taking place. So it all hinges on the role of the first responders and what information they're able to get back to us so that we can decide what we need to send, how we need to send it, and how quick we need to get it there.
And when you see a scene like this, it's fairly obvious, I think, what we need, but just to confirm, what other services would you decide you need?
Well, when you look at a scene like this, it's absolutely key that we need fire, we need ambulance, but if we look at the location, the nature of this scenario, it could be that we need to provide specialist transport to get casualties out. So for me as a commander, I'm going to be thinking about, do I need to get a helicopter in? What other specialist services do I need in terms of collision investigation, forensic investigation? But it all hinges on that key update that I get from my first responders that enable me to make those decisions and decide what else I need to bring to the scene.
Of course, and what's paramount, this is on the motorway, which is our pretend scenario. They're just putting bollards out to secure the area.
Yes, absolutely right, because what we need to do here, like I said earlier on, we need to deal with this collision, but we also need to do is make sure we don't get another one that takes place as a result. We also need to balance the factor around keeping that scene contained, keeping that scene preserved, safe for the police officers, fire and rescue and ambulance, but also, if we can, try and keep that carriageway running.
And in the meantime, your guys have been on the radio back to base asking for the other services who are en route now.
That's correct, we're just waiting for that sit rep, but then we'll be deploying on that.
So with us for this scenario as well from Avon Fire and Rescue is crew manager Dave Lindsay. Dave, you've got the call. Talk us through what happens next.
Firstly, I'd just like to let everyone know that the reason that we've got a Land Rover is because our fire appliance isn't allowed off-road. But now, well, we've got the crew on scene, and what they'll be doing now is assessing the situation. They'll be going around, one person will go to the casualty, that'll be our casualty handler. And basically everything will be to make the scene safe so nobody gets injured, and to make the car safe. Unfortunately, because the fire appliance isn't there, you can't see that we'd have a hose reel out, just in case they caught fire. But they'd also start looking at disconnecting the batteries. They'll be looking to see what types of cars they are, whether they're LPG, whether they're new hybrids with batteries. And a big risk for us is airbags, so they will neutralise the airbags with covers and usually peeling and revealing to make sure that we don't cut through them with the cutting gear in a minute.
You mentioned airbags. Is that effectively because they're very small explosive devices?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah. Sometimes they can still be active after the car has crashed, and if you stick your head in it, it goes off, it can have quite a nasty injury.
Alright, so they're assessing the scene now. I mean, so we've got Avon Fire and Rescue on site, we've got the police on site. Is there a natural leader in the whole process?
The fire service will lead the extrication. That will usually be casualty led, depending on the injuries of the casualty, whether it has to be a very fast extrication or a slower one where we've got a little bit more time. And the police usually deal with the accident investigation and the road safety if they're there.
So also rushing to the scene, of course, of the ambulance service, they would have been called. I mean, it might be that the ambulance get there before the fire service or before the police. It depends where the emergency service are stationed, where the accident is. We're pretending this is on the motorway, so you would expect that the police would be on scene first. So Avon Fire and Rescue, the fire service have got there, they're looking at the car, they're securing the safety of the vehicle, make sure there aren't any fires. Don't forget there are casualties already in the car. We had our phone call from the walking wounded who managed to get out of the car, but there is somebody, as you see, somebody is being let out of the car now, but there is somebody trapped in the car. So the fire service are assessing the car, ambulance service are on the way. John Wood is from the ambulance service. John, you get the call. Talk us through what happens. The fire service are there, the police are there, you arrive, then what?
Okay, so the ambulance service will arrive. They need to assess the scene for themselves. They need to think about their own safety and then approach the scene and identify who's in charge as the fire brigade and take a handover. They will then assess all of the casualties, they will triage them, so they'll put them in order of priority and they will start treatment. They'll also be asking for additional resources to come to the scene. They'll need ambulances to transport them to the hospital, and they will also, if it's serious, ask for the helicopter, the critical care team, which is based at Chiltern.
And does it matter where an accident is? We're pretending this is on the motorway, of course, but if it was on an A road or a B road, that doesn't matter. It's all about the patient and their needs, whether the air ambulance is called or not.
Yeah, that's correct. So the air ambulance will deliver the critical care team, so that will consist of a critical care paramedic and a critical care doctor. It doesn't matter where that happens, whether it's in a rural area, an urban area, they will come either by air or they'll come by road. The team then will be able to do a whole range of interventions up to and including anaesthesia for the patients.
But of course your guys who arrive first on the ground, they'll obviously start the first aid process, making the patient as comfortable as possible.
That's correct. So the team that's just arrived is the hazardous area and rescue team. So it's a specialist team of paramedics who are able to access hazardous areas, work at heights, work in confined spaces, and they will often attend the scene of serious accidents such as this. They will, as I say, do an initial triage, they will feed information back to control and ask for additional resources to treat all of the patients. So their first job really is to establish exactly how many casualties we have and what condition they're in.
Okay, that's been established. The fire service are on the scene now. Let's go back to Dave Lindsay. Your guys working hard. What are they doing now, Dave?
What they're doing is now they're checking the car for airbags and obstructions and making it ready to cut the roof off.
So what kind of kit, we often hear that the roof is cut off. Is that a quick operation? Does it depend where the patient is and so on in the car?
It depends what type of car it is. Small ones like that don't take long at all. The actual kit that we're carrying today is state-of-the-art battery powered, which we've only had about 12 months. And it's fantastic. It's much lighter, quieter than the older stuff we have.
Okay, the operation is ongoing. The healthcare guys are there. They're considering whether to call additional services like the air ambulance. In the meantime, Chief Inspector Jan Giorgio, your guys are still there. What's their role at this stage?
Okay, so what we've just got arriving on the scene now is the command element of this response. So when I say about command element, we're talking about a trained collision scene manager and a lead investigator. Now their role is to work with the commanders from the fire service and from the ambulance. We all train together, we're trained to command together and to be interoperable, and those units that have just arrived now will provide that role. So this is about coordinating with fire and ambulance, the role that everyone needs to play, what the priorities are, how we're going to do it, what the wider scene looks like, what steps we're going to need to take to start preserving that scene, protect life, minimise impact and everything else. So Martin and Lucy have just arrived at the scene to provide that role. They'll be liaising with the first responders, liaising with the fire and ambulance, and then as a collective, they will not only deal with the response, but they will command that whole totality of response as well.
Of course, the most important thing is the casualty in the car, and to make sure that their life can be saved if possible. Thereafter, you need to find out what happened.
Absolutely right, and so part of the initial role at this stage is looking for that search for the truth. However, at the moment, the priority is to protect life, to minimise further risk of harm, so we will be providing a supportive role to fire and to ambulance in undertaking that. But stepping aside from that, we're going to be looking at this now as a potential scene, because we need need to establish the cause of the collision, what happened, who was involved, who may be responsible, and what offences we may be looking at the end of the day. But this early stages at the moment, this is clearly in the response phase before we enter into the investigative phase.
Okay, that's not all, ladies and gentlemen. We've got another vehicle arriving. We'll explain what this is all about. This is the responsibility again of the Avon and Somerset Police. Jan, what's happening now and who's arriving?
Okay, so through the command at the scene, what we're going to deploy now is our collision investigation unit. So this is the investigative element of the whole roads policing response. These are officers that are trained to take on the investigation into the causes of the collision, where we'll be using forensic evidence from the scene, evidence that we can obtain from using sophisticated technical equipment, as well as interviewing witnesses and the people involved. So the vehicle that's just arriving on the scene now, that comes with all the equipment that we need to survey the scene, get that initial data that we need, start treating the scene as a forensic scene, and again, it's all part of our search for the truth from an early stage.
Fantastic. Okay, we'll come back to you when your guys are out of the vehicle. In the meantime, of course, the critical care team on the ground have assessed the patient, and they have decided, John Wood, what?
Okay, so the heart team who's done the initial assessment of the patients have decided that they are in sufficiently serious condition to ask for the critical care team to deploy by air from Filton. Control room have confirmed they've just lifted and they should be overhead in about 3 or 4 minutes.
And in the meantime, your ground crew, of course, their job is to make the patient as comfortable as possible until they arrive.
Yes, so they're fully qualified and trained paramedics, so they will start the treatment, they will give oxygen, they will gain intravenous access, and they will actually start to prep the patients for the procedures that the critical care team will deliver once they're on the ground.
Okay, Matt Thomas is a critical care doctor from the critical care team. Your guys have been briefed. What kind of briefing will they get? Will they have any idea what they're attending?
So the key thing is to get there as quickly as possible. So they'll know that somebody on the ground, an experienced paramedic, has asked for their help. So they should be aware that it's something serious. They'll know it's a car accident, and they'll know exactly where they need to go to, but they won't know the exact details of the patients and so on. I mean, if I could just say, the reason that they're a couple of minutes behind is the helicopter that's arriving today is for the purposes of the show, and the reason is that our live team have actually gone to a real RTC as we speak. So this is, although this is a demonstration, it's an example of something real that happens every day. So thoughts with anyone involved in an accident, but the mock team are on their way. They know where to come, and so the paramedic will be in the front. They're trained as a technical crew member, so they've got the ability to direct the helicopter and to assist the pilot in their duties, and doctors sitting in the back sort of mentally preparing for what comes ahead and making sure all the kit is available to them, and I believe they should be on their way now.
Yes, they are. I can confirm that the air ambulance is on its way. From a police point of view, Jan, you've heard that the air ambulance is going to land, so what measures do you have to take? This is on motorway, don't forget, so presumably we often hear on the radio on travel news that the motorway has been closed because the air ambulance is landing. What role do you take in that?
Okay, thank you. So we'll be working with Highways England now and other agencies, because what we have to consider is a suitable landing zone for that helicopter. We need to think about how we divert traffic off the carriageway so that we can keep the carriageway moving as best we can, minimise that impact to other users of the road, but we need to identify a suitable place for that helicopter to land, and we need to identify suitable diversionary routes so that we can keep the area sterile, clear, and a safe corridor for that helicopter.
And of course this is where the services are all working together. You're in direct contact with the helicopter itself?
Yes, we'll be in direct contact through the ambulance service. So what we've got now with our scene, as you can see, the major part of this response is with the vehicles and the fire service there. So the police at this stage will be providing a supportive role, looking at what areas of investigation that we can take, and also identify if we've got any offences like drink drive or anything else.
Okay, we'll deal with that in just a moment. Helicopters arriving. John, you often fly in this helicopter very often. You get to see the scene from the air. What are you looking for? What are you assessing?
So as we arrive overhead, we can do a quick assessment. We can have a global overview of what's going on the ground. Then we'll concentrate on finding a safe landing area as close to the incident as possible. We'll need to do at least one orbit. We're looking for things that could pose dangers. The main one being wires. Wires are very difficult to see. So once we've identified a landing site, we will land on and then make our way to the patient.
Yeah, and I think by the looks of the helicopter, it's identified a safe landing site. It's making its final turn, making its final approach to land on, in this case, the motorway. Yeah, of course, we often hear on the travel news that the M4, the M5, for example, is closed because the air ambulance is arriving. But it's not just the side of the road that's affected. Jan, you have to close both sides of the carriageway in both directions and for quite some distance as well.
Absolutely right, because it's not just about getting that helicopter landing, it's making sure that it's safe and that the wider public are safe. It's a massive exercise, this. It requires a lot of careful planning in quick time. However, because we all work together very effectively, we're able to do that.
Alright, we're going to head down to the scene now because whilst the air ambulance is landing, and you'll see, if you were here earlier, then the paramedics on board the air ambulance wait until the rotors have stopped. Not in this case, it's an emergency. As soon as that helicopter's on the ground, the doors are open, they will run towards the scene of the accident, and the pilots will continue to cool down the rotors of the helicopter. It's a bit noisy, we'll just wait for the helicopters to land. So here come the critical care team from the air ambulance. There's 3 people on board. The pilot is still there, of course. The team are rushing towards the scene now. So Matt Thomas from the critical care team, just very quickly before we decide what we're going to do with the driver of the vehicle, your guys have reached the scene. They'll be getting a brief from your ground guys. They'll be telling them what?
So they'll be now giving them a handover of the state of the patient, and from what I hear, there's one patient with very serious injuries. As you've seen, the team have also brought all the equipment, so they have 2 bags worth of equipment, and Dr. Lockyer there is carrying a monitor and a bag full of blood and plasma. So we're one of the few air ambulances in the country that carry blood to the scene of an accident to allow us to give that life-saving treatment immediately, if required. I haven't heard if this patient needs it yet, but it's there if needs be.
Alright, we'll come back with an update on the patient in a moment. In the meantime, the police have made sure that the person who is able to walk away from the crash is safe, first of all, and doesn't need any medical attention. Jan, you've placed the lady in the back of your car here. Why is that?
Okay, so the officers that are part of the overall response have identified that one of the drivers involved is a potential drink driver. So colleagues are now going to take